Okay, RWBY shirt, check. Notes, check. Hair in my face that I'm gonna keep messing with the entirety of the fucking video, check. So, on, I believe it was Friday, I finished Volume 4, and then later that afternoon or evening, I watched the first 8 episodes or so. I think it was the first 8 of Volume 5, and then I finished finished the volume on Saturday. And as I was watching Volume 5, I kind of just kept thinking to myself, I'm having a really, really good time. I think it's so much better than Volume 4. I know the way I described it in my video was that Volume 4 isn't good because Volume 4 isn't fun. Because it really lacks like that spark and that energy that the other seasons had, although I understand why, given the tone shift that I think is very justified given the end of Season 3. And I stand by that, and this season does feel a lot more fun, but I think a better way of saying it, which I also kind of talked about in the video, is I just don't think Volume 4 is very interesting. It's honestly pretty fucking boring. The Team Ranger storyline. The Juniper members actually have shit to do. Like, you do get a lot of emotional shit from John dealing with Pyrrha's death. You have Nora and Ren and their backstories, and now we're kind of exploring that a bit. You're like, oh, this is all really fucking interesting. What does RWBY have to do? Pretty much nothing. And given the new kind of tone shift, she doesn't have as much opportunity for jokes, and even when she does, I just found that they weren't very funny, and I feel like that was a lot of like why her delivery seemed off. It was just this, nothing with this character seems to be working. She's the main character of the show, and like her plot is essentially like the main plot of the season. We are moving forward. We are getting to Mistral. We're getting, my fucking hair. Like, we're getting to Mistral. We're getting to Haven. We are making progress. But she doesn't really talk about losing friends of hers. She doesn't really talk about being separated from her team. It never hit me. So, despite being the main fucking character, it's like she has nothing to do, and this is shitty. Weiss, I know Blake says in season 5, she's like, okay, to me, Weiss is the epitome of defiance. And I don't think that's wrong, but it doesn't... I think it kind of explains why I don't like Weiss in a lot of her scenes, because she is just defiant, but even... There's times where it has good... the problem with Weiss in Volume 4 is I don't disagree with a lot of her opinions or the things that she is saying. But I disagree, I guess, with who she's saying it to. I hate that Weiss will just say to somebody, like, for example, like, there's essentially several scenes where she'll say to her dad, fuck you. I think you're a massive piece of shit, and here's why I think you're a massive piece of shit. But somehow doesn't expect there to be consequences for what she does. And then when there are consequences, she goes, you can't do that. He's like, I'm your father. I literally can. Like, you can't take away my inheritance of the company that you own. Yeah, I can. It's my company. Shouldn't have been talking shit. Like, essentially, Weiss's entire season 4 plotline is she keeps fucking around and then she keeps finding out. And like, I find it hard to really sympathize with a character who's just keeps making their situation worse. It's like, Weiss just took the shovel and was like, I'm gonna dig my own grave and no one can stop me. And I found it really annoying. I didn't find it interesting. Is it boring? No, but I had no investment. Oscar is just kind of a nothing. Is he unlikable? No, but there was nothing to make me care. I've said it a few times on the channel. I tried watching the new Genndy Tartakovsky show, and I'm probably mispronouncing his name, that's on me. Unicorn Warriors Eternal, which I watched like 4 episodes of, and I just couldn't really get into it. But the main character, Emma, has a very similar like situation that Oscar does. This is a normal ass person who now has another soul that is being reincarnated inside of her. In Unicorn, it is that soul is actively more fighting for control, and now she has this kind of dysphoria of like, which identity am I? Because I'm the person that I was, who was happy and had a family that I cared about, had a fiance. Like, I was at my fucking wedding when this shit happened. Or am I this other person who has her own husband, who has her own duties and has to like save the world and shit? I'm not Emma anymore, but I'm not, what was the name? Was it like Melissa? I know it was something that started with an M, so I'm just gonna say Melissa. I might be wrong. It was like, I'm not Emma anymore, but I'm not quite Melissa either. I'm something in between, and I hate it. I actually did find that story, like that idea, I did think was interesting. The problem with Oscar is you don't really have that. What do we know about Oscar before he got Oz'd? Which I didn't expect to make that a verb, but here we are. He was a farm boy, and he had a mom. I have no idea how close he was to his mom. I don't know. I mean, it's a like farm boy mom. He's like, I always kind of thought I was, destined for something more than this. Like, okay, Disney princess, that's it. Did he have any like specific dreams? Like, did he want to become a huntsman? Did he actually want to be a teacher? Does he ever talk about like, I just really, really want to help people? And that's why his soul is so like-minded to Ozpin's. Is he someone that through some of his like farm work, he understands that sometimes like sacrifices need to be made for the greater good, like King David, like there's those stories about how it's like, oh yeah, like one of my sheep was gone, so I would go, like I would leave the flock to go track down that sheep, and I would fucking kill like lions and bears with my bare hands. So you knew that David was a bad dude, and also his flock, his kingdom meant the world to him, and he would risk his own life and limb to help them. Or is maybe he the kind of person that I have to protect the 99 and I will let that one sheep go to the wayside. I am willing to make that sacrifice to protect everyone else. Like, we don't know anything about that. It doesn't go that deep with Oscar, and it doesn't do that in Volume 5 either. He's just he's very bland. He's essentially Season 1 John. You're like, here's the really boring, poor bastard who's out of his depth and is just kind of here. I don't think he's as unlikable as John is in Season 1, not by a long shot. But he doesn't really do much either. And I still don't really care for that. Also, I know this is the Season 5 video, but I'm just like talking about the shit I didn't like in Season 4. I didn't like Blake in Season 4. I liked elements of her story. I really liked the scenes with her and her family. The problem I had is it felt like there were two things they wanted to do with Blake that were mutually exclusive. Number one is, I need to leave and not tell my friends where I'm going. The other thing is, I want to be a bystander now. It's like I need to kind of take time off, figure out what the fuck I want to do, and explicitly not get involved in fights. To me, these do not go together. If Blake does do that, if she's like, look, I know I've said I don't want to be a bystander, that I don't want to run away anymore, but after the shit that happened, I feel like I need to run away. I feel like I need to go home. I need to make up with my family and just figure out what I need to do. I need to take my time off. Okay, I'll be honest, I don't think that is super in character with what I've seen of her, especially in her fucking characterization in Season 2. But I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But I feel like with that characterization, she would tell her friends what's up. Like, look, I'm sorry guys, but I can't be here anymore. She doesn't necessarily have to like write them letters, but I feel like she could. And she probably should, to at least let them know, even if she's not going to tell them where she is, to at least just be like, hey guys, like I just wanted you to know I'm okay. I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah. But I don't feel like she needed to be like, I need to go talk. I need to go rest and hide. I can't tell my friends anything. I can't even say goodbye. That's just you being a shitty person. The other thing is, if they wanted Blake to not have to tell her friends anything, like, I can't get you involved in this because whenever people get involved with me, it's too dangerous, which again, I've said, it's not a trope I like, but I can understand it. Then it would make sense for her to say, I need to go home because my parents used to be part of the White Fang, like my dad was the fucking leader. They might not know what's actually going on right now. I need to go there, fill them in, and figure out what I can do against the WF kind of from its home base. I like that. Like, I think that actually makes sense. And what do you know? That's what her storyline is in Volume 5, so I think it's way better. I feel like that storyline makes sense for Blake's character and makes sense why she wouldn't immediately want to tell her friends what she's doing or say goodbye to them. The problem is that's just not how it's written. It's like, that makes perfect sense to me. The other one doesn't make as much sense to me. And by the end of season 4, that's where she is. Like, okay, like, I do have to fight the Fang, but I have Sun, I have my family, I can do that. Like, it reminds me a lot of John in season 1. I didn't expect to make that comparison like twice in a row, but here we are. Where John's character arc in season 1 is getting him to the point that I think he should have started at, which is, I cheated my way into the academy because I wasn't good enough, but now that I'm here, I'm working my ass off. I am really trying to study. I am trying to, like, put in the work. I'm just not good enough, even with the extra work I'm doing, but is the kind of person who is so desperate to prove himself. He is willing to take on the guidance of others. He's like, Pyrrha, you're so fucking cool. If you're willing to work with me, then I'm more than happy to accept it. Hell, maybe would even ask her. His whole, like, I want to be the hero, and if I can't do it by myself, what's the point? I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, you are getting on my nerves. And yeah, Blake by the end of season 4 is, oh shit, I should be fighting the White Fang because it's something that's incredibly personal to me and has been incredibly personal to me since like the very end of season 1 and is an integral part of my character. I'm like, yeah, like, no shit. Like, I didn't feel like because it wasn't even like she really had growth. It was just, I want to be a bystander now. Like, son, stop telling me the White Fang are doing shit. I don't care. Oh shit, the White Fang are doing things. I think I care again. Like, yeah, this didn't work. There's scenes that work. Again, I really love the shit with her and her parents, but overall, I'm like, I'm not invested in this plot line because this plot line is fucking stupid. And then you have Yang, which is like, no, this is the actual really good part because this arc makes sense. It's really what it is. It's like, this actually makes sense. She has stuff to do. And yes, you can make an argument, and it's like, yeah, we know she's going to get, like, back on that horse and go out into the field. But I feel like with what happened to Yang, I needed to see her deal with that. Whereas with Blake, it's not even that something specifically happened to her. Like, again, I feel like, given how personal the White Fang is and how personal Adam is, she would see what happened to Yang and said, okay, I can't get my friends involved, but I can't stop fighting either. It's not just that, like, he's hurting people, which, like, Adam is a piece of shit, and I want to stop him because he's a piece of shit. But now he's hurt someone I care about. I have to stop him, and because he's such a spiteful fucking cunt, I have to do this myself. Let's go. That makes sense to me. And it's like, I feel like she would have been like that pretty much when it happened. I don't feel like she needed an arc that isn't even really much of an arc to get there compared to Yang, who really, really needed it. So that was a really long-winded way of saying season 4 fucking sucked because season 4 was fucking boring. Season 5 is not boring. I feel like these characters actually have stuff to do. RWBY is actually able to have some emotional moments that got me invested. Yang is just continuing her story, and I think it's good shit. Blake is, in Season 5, is where she should have been at the start of Season 4, and is able to do shit. Weiss is still Weiss, but there are some really strong moments from her that I was like, I love this scene. Good shit. Oscar is still boring. Oscar has fucking nothing to do. The Juniper members don't really do too much in this season either. There is some important shit with John near the end, but for the most part, it's like, okay, they really got their focus in Season 4. They can kind of take this season off to chill. I still don't really like the new art style. I'm getting more used to it, though. It definitely doesn't bother me as much as it did in Season 4. I don't know if it actually looks I don't think it looks that much better than it did in Season 4. I think I'm just more used to it. It was in this season in particular, though, where I noticed just how different the fighting is. Because while I don't think the choreography is really that great in Season 4, it's still, or maybe it is just like with the new art direction, always just kind of looked weird for the most part, with the exception of like the Tyrion fight. There was still a lot of momentum and recoil based combat. That's not really the case anymore. Volume 5 still has a lot of movement. You still have a lot of shit of people just like jumping around, like in the big all-out brawl near the end of the season. Weiss is using her glyphs to be like, I'm gonna jump here, and I'm gonna jump here, and I'm gonna jump here. And like when Oz is fighting Hazel, there is again a lot of movement. Like he's not just like standing in place and like fucking fencing. He's doing rolls, he's doing flips, he's like doing jumps and shit. And I like that. But I'm noticing it's not like I have to get a lot of momentum, so like my attack is a lot stronger. Like I can, again, like the fucking slingshot in Season 1, like I need to use the momentum so I'm strong enough to cut this thing's fucking head off. Or RWBY, even in Season 4, like using the recoil from her scythe, like from the sniper rifle shots to position. That's not really happening anymore. There's also a bigger emphasis on just hand-to-hand combat, which I do like. One of my favorite fights in the season is just regular-ass hand-to-hand combat, like pretty much nothing special. I don't know if this is a bad change, but I am noticing it, and I do really, it's not to be like, man, I don't like that old style of fights. This is not a bad change. Like, no, I do really like that style. But I think even with this new style, there were some fights in this season that are really, really good. And a contender for the best fight in the series so far. Does it beat the Red trailer? I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm also like, was the Red trailer better than this one? I think. But I'm not 100 on that. So I'll probably just say the Red trailer is the best fight in that old fighting, in the first fighting style. So far, this will be the best fight in the newer fighting style. We'll get to it, but if you've seen Season 5, you probably fucking know which fight I'm talking about. I think the only other just kind of general thing to say is, as I've said before, this was the furthest I've ever been in RWBY. Because I had watched Volume 5, I was really looking forward to Volume 6. I think there were some parts at the ending where I was like, that's pretty fucking stupid. And at least one of them I still think is true. But I was like, I do want to watch Volume 6 when it comes out. And then I think by the time I learned that Volume 6 was out, they were on like Volume 7. And I was like, oh, I didn't know Volume 6 was out. Well, it's been so long that I don't fucking remember, and blah, 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 and I didn't end up watching it. So, I kind of feel like Samwise Gamgee, or like, this is the farthest from home I've ever been, Mr. Frodo. Like, one more step, and like, that'll be it. Do you guys know about the edit of Fellowship of the Ring? Where, from that point forward, every time Sam takes another step, they just play that clip. I haven't seen it, I have no intention of seeing it because it's like 7 hours or some shit. But it does not surprise me that somebody did that. And I just think it's neat. I just think it's fucking funny. But those are kind of the general thoughts. So, like, getting into more specifics, we're going to go into the plot. And to me, I noticed about 5 different plot lines. The first of which is Team Ranger. Team Ranger made it to Mistral. They made it to Haven. And Crow is with them. Oz joins them very quickly. I think it's the end of the first episode or like partway through the first episode. Like they have their squad together. They are there to get the relic. And they're talking to Professor Lionheart, who as far as they know is still their homie. Like, what is the plan? We need the relic. Cool. How do we get the relic? Well, to get that MacGuffin, we need another MacGuffin. We need the maidens. And each maiden has a specific relic she is attached to. So for this one, we need the Spring Maiden. Cool. Where is she? Well, Crow says, I know that she's with my sister. One of my sister's goons is the Spring Maiden. So we need to get a squad of huntsmen together. Go attack the bandits. Or it's like, go to the bandits and try and negotiate. I know my sister. She's not just going to give her up. It will probably come to a fight. You know, if we have a strong enough fighting force with us, she might relent to at least let us, like, borrow the maiden to do the shit and give her back. Probably not. We're probably going to need a fight. So that's what we're going to do. This is our plot. And from there, it kind of splitters into 2 separate plots. You have Crow actively looking for huntsmen and huntresses and not being able to find any, which does lead to one of my favorite scenes. Like, I actually really like that section of him looking for people. He's like, all right, I'm looking for this friend of mine. Oh, shit. Like, I can't find him, and he has this huge bar tab, and I don't want to pay the bar tab. I'm just going to leave it. I think it's kind of funny. Then I can't find this person, I can't find this person, I can't find this person, and then going to, like, the last one, fucking banging on the door, being like, come on, like, I know someone's here, fucking open. And this dude and a little girl answer the door, and they're like, does Dad, does he know when Mommy's coming home? Oh, sorry to bother you. And then he goes back to that previous bar and is like, how much did my friend owe you? This much? That's a lot. Okay. I'm paying his tab, so he's clean. And I really like that scene of just Crowy's like, all right, like, we can do this. We're going to get a squad. And then just... It sounds fucked up to say. It's like, yeah, I liked watching the hope drain from his eyes. But just, like, as the reality of the situation just slowly encroaching on him and, like, how desperate he feels. And he still can't get anybody. But at the very least, he's like, look, clearly all these people are dead. Which means this situation in Haven is way worse than I fucking thought. The least I can do is try to clear my friend's name. It's not much, but I can do something for him. I think that's really good. And then Team Ranger is doing some training with Ozpin, which is also training Oscar's body, but also training them in other areas. And then just kind of chilling. Like, all right, like, we're here. We're just going to wait for Crow to fucking bring people. And that is kind of it. Again, it kind of sounds like RWBY doesn't have a whole lot to do as a character, but she does at least get some scenes. Like, there's one where she is talking to Oscar, and he's like, RWBY, like, how the fuck are you handling this? Like, I'm just a dude who now has the soul of a really fucking important, powerful person in him. So I'm part of this now, and this is weird. And it's kind of scary, but you're always so chipper and happy. Like, how the fuck do you stay sane? To which, I don't remember exactly what she says, but this is when she finally talks about Penny and Pyrrha. She's like, yeah, I lost people when that happened. It's like, look, I'm someone who, since I was a kid, just wanted to help people, wanted to save people as much as possible. That's been my dream. And when the fall happened, I lost a couple people. And as much as I hate the fact that they're gone, I hate just as much, if not more, that I didn't spend as much time with them. Because I liked them, I knew them, but I could have known them better. I could have been closer with them, and now I'll never have the chance to. I always wanted to help people. But now that I've gone through this kind of loss, because it's not the first time I've lost somebody. I've lost my mom. I don't think she says anything about her mom, so I'm just kind of going off on a thing here. But it's like, I've lost my mom. But I wasn't there when that happened. She just never came home. So maybe there is kind of that part of RWBY that's like, I do want to become stronger. I do want to be a huntsman. So kind of like in a Batman thing where it's like, people don't have to lose their mom the way that I did. But being there and seeing friends die and being unable to do anything about it, it's the kind of thing that either breaks you or makes you stronger. And for me, it made me stronger. Because I can't let something like that happen ever again. I don't want the people of Haven to deal with what the people for Beacon did. To deal with the loss that happened to Beacon. I don't want that to happen in Atlas. I don't want that to happen in Vacuo. Because I was there at Ground Zero when shit went down, I feel like I have a responsibility to keep it from happening anywhere else. That is what keeps me going. I hope you're like, I hope you don't go through the same shit that I did, but I hope you are able to get something that grounds you and keeps you going. Again, it's not exactly what she says. It's me kind of reading into it too, but I do really like that. It's like, thank you, RWBY had something to fucking do and like a strong character moment. Let's go. And then partway through, team reunions happen because Crow ends up bringing Yang and Weiss. So let's get into their stories. So Weiss, like from the end of season 4, she's stowing away on a ship. She ends up getting shipwrecked, which again I think is really funny because like she has this whole fight scene where like she's on the ship fighting monsters. And she's doing, like, an okay job. Like, she's able to do it, and then she fights the big monster. Like, I'll talk about more about the fight in a bit. But she does all this shit to, like, save them, but they still end up crashing. And then she does even more shit to be like, all right, let me make sure we don't crash as hard, to lessen the impact. And you never find out if the pilot survived or not in the show. It's just that some bandits show up, find Weiss, and kidnap her. They don't say anything about the pilot. She doesn't say anything about the pilot, so just assume that he died. It's like, good job, Weiss. You had like one job. It was to fight the monsters, and you did. But like, isn't a huntsman / huntress supposed to protect people? You did a real stand-up job with that pilot there, bucko. But she ends up getting captured by bandits, which include Raven, who just fucking steps on her. And that ends up taking her to Raven's camp. Yang also makes her way to Raven's camp because she's looking for Raven, because that's the fastest way to get to RWBY. Because Raven's her Sembi, which is how I've just kind of been writing semblance in my note. I just call them Sembis because it's faster. I think hers is kind of cool. She can essentially bond with somebody. Or it's like, for people that she really cares about, she can make a portal that just lets her teleport to them. It's like, she's got one for Crow, she's got one for Tai, and she has one for Yang. And RWBY's like, Yang's like, cool. I know, like, Dad explained how your shit works, so I know you've got one for your brother, and I know RWBY is with your brother. So, send me to Uncle Crow, and I'll go on my way. And I really like that from Yang, that with all the shit that happened and her like needing to get stronger, like her arc with her dad, she's like, okay, I can look for my mom or I can look for my sister. My sister is more important. Now, I'm still going to look for my mom, but I'm not there to really, like, the thing I've wanted my entire life, I guess not the entire life, because she didn't know that she had 2 moms, but it's like, once I knew that Raven existed, I wanted to find her, I wanted to talk to her, get to know her, and now that's just not important. Kind of going back to the shit from the end of season 2, it's, as a huntsman, as a huntress, what I want is secondary to what's important. Having a relationship with my mom is not what's important. What's important is getting to my sister and helping her save Mistral, helping her save Haven Academy. Mom is a means to an end, which generally I think is something Raven can kind of respect, and she kind of does, but is also a little bit like, really, kiddo? Like, you finally made it here, and you don't even want to hang out with me. Why should I help you? Because we're family. Yeah, it seems like family only pulls the family card when they need something. It's making me kind of fucking sick of family, to be honest. But, yeah, so the way Yang finds Raven is, I don't think this NPC has a name. I just call him Joe Dirt, because he fucking looks like Joe Dirt. Or there's this dude that's hitting on her, and she's like, hey, I'm not interested. Keeps hitting on her. Hey, I'm not interested. Starts touching her hair. She punches him. He fucking Looney Tunes out of the door, which I'm like, okay, we're being fun again. This is really goofy. It's kind of stupid, though. It's like, I didn't laugh as hard as I probably normally would have. I was like, nah, that's a bit much. But when I realized that she knocked out his tooth, though, I'm like, that was funny. I appreciate a woman who would just, like, take out someone's tooth. I don't know. That was a weird fucking thing to say. I think it just comes down to, like, I have a character in one of my stories that's really similar to Yang. Kind of scarily so. As I'm rewatching RWBY, I'm like, that's just Athena. They are so fucking similar. It's kind of insane. And I know that's like a thing that Athena will fucking throw hands and punch the shit out of people. And I know it's something that like she jokes about a few times. It's just like she'll always like knock out someone's teeth. So seeing her fucking punch out someone's tooth, I was like, oh my god, it's just another thing for the Athena similarities. What the hell? This was not intentional, I promise. Anyways, point. Joe Dirt's like, hey, I hear you're looking for Raven. I know where Raven is. And then lures her into an ambush, which has a great moment where just he shows up and all his fucking droogs show up. Okay. Is this everybody? Yeah. This is everybody. Plus the whole fucking camp back that way. That way, right? Yeah. Okay. It's like, let's fucking go. And then, like fucking Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible, she just reloads her fucking arms. Sorry, like, until I fucking said that, like, I completely forgot about that scene. Which Mission Impossible was that? Was that Fallout? I think that was Fallout. I fucking love how goofy that shit is. Him, like, reloading his arms and punching the shit out of things. Oh, Mission Impossible movies are fun as fuck. Anyways, that's a fight, and, like, I'll talk about it a little bit more, I guess, in a bit. But that's how she gets to the camp, and she and Weiss both end up finding each other, and Weiss gives her this big old hug, and they talk to Raven, and they get the kind of basic spiel about things, and then Raven's like, this is why you shouldn't trust Osmond, like, he did something to me, and, like, it's fucked up, and then does the bird shit. And I remember I was watching that scene, and in my head, my brain is just going, I'm like a bird, I only fly away. It's like, what? Like, damn, Raven's in her Nelly Furtado era, I guess. And, Weiss said something when Raven's talking about, like, magic and, like, what Oz did to me, and she just looks at Yang and she's like, we have dust, semblances, but there's no such thing as magic. And I remember watching the episode and just writing in my notes, because I write, when I'm watching a show, I try to do notes for every episode. Whether I do, like, with Symphogear, I'm like, I'm just going to do a video for, like, every couple episodes or something like this, or, like, I'm just going to do the season as a whole. I still want to have notes for every episode so I know what the fuck I want to say. And I remember writing down that quote and then writing right next to it, this is why I hate Weiss. Like, I've said enough these past couple seasons about how semblances aren't magic, but they're fucking magic. But no one in the series seems to acknowledge that this really unique ability that is linked to a person's fucking soul that only they can do. How the fuck is that not magic? Oh no, but this person can, like, breathe fire. Or, like, maiden shit. Like, that's magic. But me controlling magnetism isn't magic. But this dude making 4 of himself isn't mad. Like, I'm not gonna do it again. I've said my piece. I'm not at peace with it, but I'm like, I'm not gonna waste your time. I'm not gonna waste my time. And I was like, Weiss, I fucking hate you. Stop. It made me so mad. But then, they go through the portal, they go back, and everyone has a reunion, and I can't lie. The scene where RWBY just comes in, and Crow's like, kiddo, I need you here. Yeah, I'll be there in a sec. And then she, like, burns the food she's cooking, which, again, was pretty funny. And then she goes down, and she's, like, carrying some tea, and then she just drops it when she sees Weiss and Yang. And then Yang just goes up and hugs her. I cried a little bit. I can't lie. I was like, fuck, I'm tearing up a little. This has now made me cry as many times as Violet Evergarden. I really like that scene. I was like, I actually do like these characters when they have shit to do and when they can be likable. It was really sweet. And then Weiss is just kind of standing there in the back like, I gotta let the sisters have their moment. This is for them. And they're like, nah, bitch, get over here. You're part of the family too. You're part of the squad. Hug. And I was like, this is beautiful. I love this. They end up talking to Oz then. It's like, all right, full spiel, blah, 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 blah. And then Yang's like, hey, you're not telling him everything, Oz. Why don't you tell him what you did to my mom? And he's like, oh, yeah, I fucking turned them into birds. Silly me, I guess. And which did confirm that, yes, he is the wizard from that old story. He's the one that gave the maidens their powers. He says, I'm also cursed to reincarnation and shit because I failed to stop Salem, which I know just from osmosis that Salem was his wife. I don't know why she's a demon now, if he, like, married a demon. Like, I don't know all of that shit, but I do know at least somewhat the nature of their relationship, which sounds really fucking interesting. But, again, like, you have Raven essentially saying to Jank, which I did misremember this conversation, because I thought it was a conversation between Raven and Crow. There is a conversation between Raven and Crow, but that was in Season 4, not Season 5. Where she tells Yang and Weiss, essentially, you shouldn't trust Ozpin, because if you trust him too much, he might use you and manipulate you. Look at what he did to me. He gave you an extra superpower. Again, like, how the fuck is Raven's portal shit not considered magic? I'm not gonna go into it. That's fucking retarded. Wow, my brain just, like, stopped for a second. Where was I? Turning into birds. That's right. Look at what he did to me. He gave me this ability that I have full control over and, like, no downside. What a horrible person. That's fucking stupid. And Yang, she sounds so disgusted when she brings it up to Ozpin. Like, look at, like, the thing you did to my mom. Like, yeah, he, like, gave her a power that has no downside. I mean, like, the fact that her hair is, like, coarse enough to kind of look like a raven's feathers, like, I think that's just neat. I don't think that's something Oz did. I think she kind of always had that. aside from that, there's nothing about her that seems permanently changed. It's not like she has like a beak at all times or wings at all times. It's just, no, you have full control over this and there's no downsides. I assume that if she dies as a bird, she dies for real, but I mean, she's smart enough to know when to go bird and when to go raven, I guess. Why is this considered such a horrible, bad thing? This is dumb. This is really, really dumb. It bothers me. It just really does. I love season 5. I'm gonna be honest, it might be my favorite season. It's really between that and season 3. But like season 3, it's not without its dumb shit. And then aside from that, kind of while we're on all the Mistral Haven shit, you've got the baddies, who essentially their plan is the same thing. Like, yeah, we need to get the Spring Maiden, we need to get the relic. Lionheart, the headmaster at Haven, is already in their pocket, so he's like, all right, this is what Crow told me, this is where Spring is. Cool. So we're gonna send Cinder and Dr. Watts to Raven to work out that shit and like kind of get a plan together. Which essentially is like, cool, Raven, option number 1 is you help us. Option number 2, we fucking kill you, and then we take your maiden. So, what are you gonna pick? With such great options, let me see. I'll help you if you help me kill my brother, because the only reason anyone knows about this is because of my fucking brother. He's kind of a pain in the ass. I don't really like him. I'll help you if you help me kill him. Alright, sure, bet. Also, the silver-eyed girl is with him, and if we kill your brother, we can kill her too. Yeah. Which, I love how fucking aggro Cinder is this season. Because, yeah, in the first 3 seasons, she's very more calm, collected, like, we're gonna work from the shadows, and in season 4, she's just recovering. In season 5, she's so spiteful. Like, I know Blake at one point is like, Adam is the embodiment of spite, and I can see it. Cinder is spite. And I kind of love it. I love how fucking evil she is. There's a scene I can't wait to talk about when I get into the fights, but it's like, this is one of my favorite scenes of the season. No question. And it's all Cinder. Tyrion doesn't do anything. Like, he's still in recovery. And at one point, Watts gets sent away to deal with him. Hazel is working with Adam and the White Fang. Like, yeah, essentially this is our plan. Since you guys have helped us so much, we'll help you, like, fuck up the school. And while you guys are fucking up the school, we're going to use you as a distraction to go in. Hopefully at that point we will have the maiden, or at least, like, Raven will supervise. We don't really care. We'll get the relic and blah, 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 blah. And Cinder also wants to get her revenge on RWBY while she's there, and is going to try to take the maiden power for herself by, like, sucking it out of the girl's body. Cool. That's the baddie's plan. Also, Emerald and Mercury are there to just support Cinder. And then the final storyline is Blake doing what the fuck she should have been doing in season 4. I'm going to do what I can to stop the Fang. And Elia going, hey, can you not stop us, please? No. Please? No. Okay, I gotta kill your family. Nani? That shit happens. Essentially, their relationship is... I don't think Blake ever says this, but what I get from it is Blake sees a lot of herself in Elia. This is someone who is so passionate about the cause that she's willing to get her hands dirty. She is going down that wrong path, but also someone who can be saved before she goes too far. And I think part of it is like, this is my friend. I don't want to fight my friend if I don't have to. But I really do think a lot of it is, I was saved. I want to be able to save someone else too. And I do always kind of like those storylines. When a character has gone through some sort of redemption, And because of that, they're a lot more willing, they show a lot more patience with other characters who are going through their own redemption arcs. I think that's really good shit. A bunch of shit happens, and then that ends up okay, so the thing I don't like about Blake's story, though, is the timing of it. Because I think it's like by the end of Blake's storyline, they're like, okay, Haven is going to get attacked in 2 weeks, so we need to get to Haven. And then, like, an episode before that is Cinder and them going to Raven saying, hey, we're going to attack Haven in 2 days. So you know that Blake shit is happening, like, way before a lot of this. I was like, I get that. I just don't like the way it's handled. But I also kind of get it, because, like, well, if you handle all Blake's shit in, like, the start of the season, it'd be really front-loaded, and then she'd have nothing to do for several episodes, and then she'd show up, which would also feel kind of weird. It's like, I get it, I just think the timeline's a little kind of wonky. But that's basically the plot. And then, you know, everyone meets up in Haven, and shit goes down. So let's talk about shit going down. Let's get into the fights. The closest thing to a fight in the first episode is Yang punching out Joe Dirt's tooth, which isn't a fight, it's just a bop. Like, honestly, the way he bounces around the fucking gas station before falling outside is a lot like a scene in Tales of the Abyss, where, I can't remember the dude's name, but it's essentially like the one Pope dude, where I don't want to go into full spoilers for Tales of the Abyss here. There's a scene where he just starts and I feel, from what I remember, it was kind of meant to be like, man, like this is some like really dangerous, serious, fucked up shit going on, and I was just laughing my ass off. Again, I don't think anything will be funnier from Tales of the Abyss than, Professor, I'm coming, we won't let you. Which, like, in context, it, like, makes sense, but... Oh, gosh, if that's not fucking comedy platinum, I don't know what is. But suffice it, like, weirdly enough, there's not really a fight in the first episode of Season 5, and it's the first season to do that. Actually, I don't remember... Yeah, because Season 1... had RWBY fighting Torchwick's goons, fighting Torchwick, and then Professor Goodwitch, Cinder. Season 2 with the food fight, which is still, I think, one of the best fights of the show. And Season 3 had that first 4v4 match with Team RWBY against Team Avril Lavigne, because there was a fucking skater person. Season 4 had Team Ranger fighting the possessed tree-armed thingy. And then this one didn't. It just had Yang punching a dude. It's like, oh, that's interesting. You're not starting with a fight. It's not even like, oh, that's interesting. It's more just like, okay, maybe we really are in a truly new era and a true direction for the show, where we're just not going to have as many fights or something like that. Like, we'll kind of see as it goes. So the first real fight is Weiss in an airship getting attacked by, I think they called them Lancers, which are essentially giant wasp grims. And she stands in the back of the ship in the cargo bay, uses a glyph to ground herself, and is just shooting magic at them while they're, like, shooting lasers and shit at her. And at one point, she's like, this isn't fucking working. Starts, like, throwing the big-ass dust, like, cases at them. So they start fucking exploding. He's like, yeah, I did it. I finally won a fight. Then here comes the Queen Wasp, which is fucking them up. So then she summons Wad. By the way, that's what there's a part in Season 4 where she summons a giant, like, knight in armor. And I remember audibly saying to myself, damn, she just summoned a whole-ass dude. Which is what I refer to that summon, is whole-ass dude, or for short, Wad. So she summons Wad, and Wad just starts fucking the thing up, and it's honestly a lot of fun. Like, I remember watching this scene and going, like, I'm having fun again watching RWBY. This is the, like, kind of stupid Symphogear shit that I want to see, like, fighting from the back of an airship and whatnot. It's pretty dang cool. And then, because the ship did take a lot of damage, because even when Weiss is winning a fight, she really can't win a fight. It starts crashing, and then she just, like, makes a bunch of glyphs that, like, slow down the impact every time the ship goes into it, and then it crashes, which I thought was really cool and really clever. I think the pilot still fucking died. So, again, good job, Weiss, but I do think it was a cool fight. This isn't really a fight, but there's a scene where Adam goes to Sienna Khan, who kind of a baddie. I was like, I think her design is really cool, but I was like, damn, like she's a kind of really attractive, even in RWBY's new weirder art style. I can't wait to see more of this character. Oh, well, there went the leader of the White Fang. Well, that could have been a cool character, I guess, but never fucking mind. Yeah, not really a fight, but I guess there's a little bit of action with her getting stabbed. So there's the scene I said where Henry cables her arms and starts fighting these bandits. And this is really, because it's a bit in season 4 as well. This is when it really hit me that, I think most of the fights are just going to be like hand-to-hand combat. Not a lot of using momentum and recoil, just blocking, punching, throwing people, all kinds of cool shit. I think it's... The problem I had with this fight had nothing to do with the fight itself. I watched season 5, I did this for season 4 as well. I watched them both on Crunchyroll. And I had them playing on my TV. There were no problems with season 4, but there were a lot with season 5 where the video at like some point would just like kind of freeze for a second, and then the audio would be off, and then it would correct. Excuse me. But there'd be like very specific parts in the video that were fucked, and this fight was one of them, where like the audio was off for a few parts of it, and like the actual video was off. I don't know if this was a problem with Crunchyroll, if this was just like the actual video was fucked for some reason. I don't know what happened. It did affect my experience watching it, unfortunately, but I don't think it's actually the show's fault, because I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, yeah, I don't remember having any of these problems. And even one of those scenes, because it happened during the Raven Cinder fight too, like I rewatched it on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, this is running fine. It was just a weird problem with Crunchyroll. But I was like, okay, we're in a new era in terms of the combat, which is sad, but this is also pretty fucking cool, just seeing Yang throwing hands and beating the shit out of people with not her bare hands, just gauntlet, but just beating the shit out of things. This is awesome. And I remember the music playing it felt like something out of like a Western. I was like, this is really cool. I'm really digging this scene. This is a pretty cool fight. Then there's like a quick sparring match of RWBY fighting Ozpin, which ends with him fucking headbutting her, which I thought was pretty funny, which RWBY does later. I don't remember who she was fighting. I want to say it was Hazel that she did it to, because there's kind of a scene where everyone's fighting Hazel, but she might have done it to like Emerald. I'm not sure. But she brought the headbutt back. I was like, that's good shit, RWBY. You've learned. I appreciate that. And not really much of a fight, but there's a scene where Blake kind of gets ambushed by Ilya and like tied up, and then Sun saves her. It's a tiny little action scene, but not really. Which then leads to, because at that point, then Ilya and them go to Blake's house to like assassinate her parents, which leads to a few different scenes. You've got Mama Belladonna essentially just like taking a fucking like flintlock and shooting at dudes, using shit for cover, and then like taking a tray and bonking a dude, which is pretty fun. You've got Daddy, what is his name? I think it's like Gira is his name. And given the fact that he's like this big cat dude and his name is Gira, I just kind of kept hearing it as Bagheera because I fucking love the Jungle Book. And I was like, this dude's pretty fucking cool. He's just punching people, throwing people, using his claws. You had the two fox dudes, Corsic and Finnick, who each had like these like these golden sai that looked really cool, and they're just like shooting magic from him, like stabbing him and shit. That was cool. there's this scene where Blake is fighting Ilya, and then Ilya turns the lights off and as a chameleon uses camouflage to hide in the dark. I liked that a lot. I was like, that's a really fucking clever move. That's cool. I love seeing that kind of shit. And like, they fight, and then like Bagheera ends up in the room, and then, yeah, the way that Blake is like, I can't fucking see. I'm gonna set the room on fire, and the light of the fire is gonna let me see her. That's one of those you're like, that's really clever, but also really fucking dangerous. It's like, cool, this fight now has a time limit. Let's go. It's super fucking fun. It's dope as hell. And then at some point, like, there's debris falling. It almost falls on Ilya, and then fucking Papa ends up saving her. She gets out of there, and then one of the two Fox dudes runs, is like, gotta stab Papa. Blake pulls him out, and then the debris just falls on the dude and fucking kills him. It's like, oh, that was cool as hell. Fuck that guy. It was neat. I really, really liked that shit. It was fun. Then after that, basically, like, the shit going on in Mistral, there's kind of an all-out brawl, which is really cool and really disappointing at the same time. Because you're like, okay, RWBY and Cinder are in the same room, and it's on site for both of them. Cinder hates her for what happened at the end of season 3. Understandably so. RWBY hates Cinder for killing your fucking friend and then setting shit up to get another friend killed. Understandable. In the intro to season 2, there's a little bit you're like, okay, RWBY and Cinder throwing hands. And in the intro of season 3, same shit. But we haven't really gotten a fight with them. Season 2 is the infiltration thing, which is not even really a fight. It's just kind of like a couple movements. And then season 3 was just the Silver Eyes, which wasn't even a fight. I still think it's bullshit. Let's go. I want to see these two go at it and show just how much they fucking hate each other. No. Cinder ends up fighting John, which I do like from John's perspective. He's like, you fucking killed my friend. You're a sadistic, heartless bitch, and I hate you. Who are you again? Like, it was literally the fucking Thanos shit. I feel like before Endgame came, you took everything from me. I don't even know who you are. And they're like, as much as like, that feels like the kind of thing Cinder would say to get under someone's skin. I don't even think she was. I think she genuinely didn't recognize him. And then later in the fight, she's like, oh, I know you. You're the guy who's complete dog shit. Oh, this is way funnier. But, like, she fights John, and I did have a good time with it. Of Cinder just not taking him seriously. There's where he's like, fucking take me seriously. And she's like, okay, you asked for it. And they're my favorite part of the fight, no question, of like all the shit going on in the brawl, is Cinder's like got her foot on him, and then she's like, all right, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. You suck. Like, did you think you could beat me? Well, she almost did, because RWBY uses the Silver Eyes again. Cinder stops for a second, and then John, like, tries to stab her in the head and, like, just barely misses. And then Cinder has that look on her face like, I almost fucking died to John. I almost fucking died to John. Oh my god, I can't fuck around anymore. This piece of shit needs to fucking die. Which, again, is also kind of one of those things I like. It's like when Polnareff nearly killed Dio, and then Dio's like, oh shit, I'm still Dio, I'm still gonna fuck around a little bit. I need to get serious now, because I almost fucking died. But yeah, she's like, did you really think you could beat me? It doesn't matter. I don't matter. It does not matter, Cinder, if you kill me. But if I can give my friends a few extra minutes by distracting you, I will take that 10 times out of 10, because they're the people that actually matter. Huh. Bet. Makes a fucking fire spear and is like, okay, so your friends are the ones that matter. Which one should I fucking murder? Eeny, meeny, miny, mice. Just fucking throws a spear spear at Weiss from across the room. Fucking perfect shot, just impales her, and then that's how the episode ends. I'm like, this is why Cinder is spite. Just, you almost killed me. Like, you sly dog. Your friends, okay, so you don't matter, your friends matter. Okay, so I've already taken one friend from you, but it's not fun if I leave it at one. Is the loneliest number after all. Who should I pick? Coincidentally, I don't think Cinder knew this. Like, coincidentally, I'm gonna pick the one you got a crush on, and bop. It's like, dude, that was so petty. I was kind of laughing. Okay, so partly I was laughing because of how fucking petty Cinder is. I'm like, this is great. I love seeing this from a villain. The other part of me is laughing is like, of fucking course it's Weiss. Like, she doesn't even do it to RWBY, the person that she really fucking hates. She's like, nah, Weiss is like the weakest person here. Let me just get her. Which, speaking of which, Weiss is fighting Vernal, who is the Spring Maiden. And essentially her fight is, I'm just gonna keep using glyphs to jump around and try to summon Wad, and not try to, like, fight any other kind of way. And it just not working at all, and she gets her ass kicked. Because take a shot every time Weiss gets her fucking ass kicked. Cinder's now occupado, so RWBY doesn't actually get to fight her. She fights Emerald, you don't even really get to see it, and then Yang gets to fight Mercury, like, properly this time, but you don't even really focus on it, and that kind of sucks. And Oscar, not even Ozpin, starts fighting Leo, and it's kind of whatever. And then at some point, Ozpin does take over and then kind of starts beating his ass. There is this one really funny scene where, like, something I think it's, like, right after Weiss gets impaled, Oz just looks at Leo and just fucking bonks him with the cane. It's not even like he clocks him, just bonk. And then Leo fucking, like, tumbles down the stairs. I laughed really, really hard at that scene. It was fucking great. After that, what happens? Oh, that's right. Hazel turns into fucking Bane and starts, like, injecting dust into him like it's venom because he's like, Oz is here on site. Like, I know I'm a pacifist. I know I say I don't want to kill people. I don't want to see people get hurt if it can be avoided. Osborn! And he, like, hulks out and just becomes the problem. Also, I guess there's a fight with Crow and Raven, but you never fucking see it. And I'm like, fuck, that would have been sick. I actually really wanted to see that fight, but I don't mind focusing on John and Cinder because I think this is actually cool, but why is it like that and Weiss and Ozpin are like the only parts we're really focusing on in this brawl? And it's not like those are bad, but man, some of those others could have been really, really cool too. We just don't see it. But actually seeing, like, everyone, like, dealing with Hazel and fighting Hazel, once it just, that becomes the fight, is really cool. It's a lot of fun. John finally activates his semblance when he starts healing Weiss, but it turns out he's not actually healing her. He's amplifying her aura, because aura is, like, defense, and it can kind of heal you with shit. He's amplifying it to the nth degree. So his power being copying is something that is completely not true. So I wasn't remembering something that happened. I think I was just remembering a fan theory. Because I remembered the healing scene, and I was like, so... But I remember also the copying thing. So was it just that he copied someone who could heal? I guess not. It's like, is the power just healing? No, they say this is something else. So I guess his semblance is I can just amplify people, which I do kind of like. Again, like, your semblance being your personality, his is support, which, given the fact that they describe him as, like, the idea guy, like, he can still fight, but he's at his best when he's directing others. It's like, I am supporting you through strategy. He can still support. I do think copying, would have fit a little bit better because he sees himself as so much lesser than other people, and he wants to be like these other people that they inspire him. Him copying them, I think, kind of would have been really cool too. Oh yeah, and then because this is something I wanted to say, but then got sidetracked when I was talking about Raven Sembi, is I think it is one that really fits her personality. Of she's someone who always wants an escape plan, and that's what the portals are. It's like I essentially just kind of need a way out of any given situation, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to survive, even if I have to look like a coward to do so. And while she acts like she can just fuck, like what's that line from Heat? Like, you need to make sure that like at any given time you could just walk away. I really don't remember Robert De Niro's line, but it's something along the lines of, I can't let myself get too attached to anything, so I know that like within like 2 minutes I can walk away from any situation. That feels like kind of what Raven is, but there are still people, as cold and attached as she tries to be, there are people that still mean too much to her. And as much as she's willing to run and leave things behind, she always wants to make sure that those people are close and that she can keep an eye on them. And I do like that. I like that a lot. And speaking of Raven, we get to our final fight, because there isn't even really a fight with Adam. He's just kind of there, and then the cops show up, and he tries to blow everything up, and then it doesn't work, and then he runs. And despite the fact that there's cops everywhere specifically looking for him, he manages to escape. I get Blake saying, son, let's not go after him, because look, A, he's not the focus right now. We're here to do other shit. He's an afterthought. Fuck him. But what he wants is to kind of lure us so he can start picking us off. I'm not going to give him the satisfaction. He's a piece of shit. I get Blake's reasoning there, but you're also like, there's a fuck ton of police. You're gonna tell me that, like, none of them specifically went after Adam, the guy they were fucking there for, as soon as he ran away? Also, all of Salem's people managed to get away. Like, oh, we need to run, and none of the cops, like, I mean, I can at least understand them, because Emerald making illusions and shit, like, she made an illusion to occupy everyone else. You can make an argument she kind of was able to keep illusions up for like the cops or something. I can buy that. I just really don't for Adam. Like, I think that's bullshit. I really do. That's stupid. But anyways, the final fight of the season. The creme de la creme. It's Swan Song. It's the fight between Raven and Cinder. Because Raven did not house the Spring Maiden. She fucking was the Spring Maiden. Which is a twist I remember. And re-watching the season, I can see it. Because, like, you know, when you watch the show, like, when someone is using maiden powers, there's, like, literal magic leaking from their eyes, which I think is pretty neat. And whenever Raven is interacting with Cinder, she always wears her mask. And that made a lot of sense to me. Because it's like, yeah, like, she wears her mask, and she doesn't... A lot of these people, like, they know who she is. They know what she fucking looks like. She doesn't have to do that. But when she's with Cinder, and it's like, yeah, like, all right, we have to prove that we have the Spring Maiden. She's wearing her mask, and the magic isn't leaking out of it. I'm like, that's why she fucking did it. That's really clever. I like that a lot. That's fucking cool. And then you get the fight. Well, two maidens going at it. And, it's the best fight in the season. I think this is the best fight in the show proper. This is a top 2 fight in all of RWBY that I have seen thus far. Its only contender for me is the red trailer. I had so much fun with this fight. I had fun watching these two, like, fucking gods, for all intents and purposes, throwing magic at each other, throwing swords at each other. At one point, they both lose their weapons. The other person catches the opposite person's weapon, and then they start going ham. There's a part where Raven, like, escapes for a second, looks down, and then Cinder's using, like, Suna's fucking X-burner from Reborn to just, like, use the fire to fly up there. Like, oh, this is cool. This is really fucking cool. Let's go. And the thing you really notice in this fight is, A, for the most part, Cinder's getting her ass kicked, which is satisfying. Like, I love Cinder. I love how awful she is, but it also makes it satisfying to see her getting cooked. But you really do get the sense that Cinder, she's only a threat because of her magic. It's like, even when she killed the Fall Maiden, it's not like, damn, she's a really good fight. Like, she's a really good fighter. It was through trickery. It was through, like, Emerald's gonna set some shit up so we can sneak up on her. I have numbers, and the finishing blow is, like, I shot her in the back with an arrow. And, like, excuse me. It's not that she's really strong. She's just willing to play dirty. And now she has magic, and she's over-reliant on her magic. Raven is also someone who's willing to play dirty, but can actually fucking fight and knows what she's doing, and can not only hold her own in a fight, but can kick ass. The fact that she has magic on top of that just makes her that much more of a threat. And I liked that, and I like how that is shown throughout the fight. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was super satisfying. And it ends with Cinder getting frozen and falling into the abyss. I know she comes back because I know she has a fight in a later season with Neapolitan. I haven't seen it, but I know that fight happened, so I know Cinder's fine. Unfortunately, I ended up seeing, like, some spoilers about, like, the Winter Maiden in the comments, and I was like, I didn't want to see that. That sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. Alright. But those were the fights. There's some really good ones in this season. Again, like, even in this fight, I don't think I saw a single gun being used. Like, there wasn't really a lot of momentum. There wasn't a lot of recoil. But it was still a lot of movement. It felt very energetic. And it was just fucking cool. So, moving on to the characters, I feel like I kind of said really everything I wanted to say about the characters. Like, RWBY, like I said, the voice acting wasn't annoying this season. Like, it really does make season 4 feel like that much more of an outlier. And I really like her scene with Oscar where she can finally talk about Pyrrha and Penny. And the scene where she's, like, with her team again, you do really get the sense of how much she missed them. Like, the closest you get to that for me in season 4 is literally at the end where she's writing a letter to Yang. It's like, I mean, it took you fucking long enough to, like, have an emotional moment about this. Like, this doesn't feel satisfying. Here, I feel like it's done a lot better. Weiss, yeah, her being like, we don't really have magic. That was fucking annoying. And then there's the scene where she's... So the scene where she's captured by the bandits, she says some shit that's really annoying and then says some shit that's, like, kind of really smart. Like, the bandit's like, you seem kind of capable. It's a shame we couldn't use someone like you around here. Like, you're kind of too valuable to be used like that because we're going to ransom you, which makes sense. And she's like, I would never sink so low with someone like you. I'm like, Weiss, did you not fucking learn anything from season 4? Yes, I know you don't like them. I know for you, like, a bandit is probably, like, the lowest of the low. I get it, but you also are fucking in a cage and they have your weapon. I know you can summon Wad and shit, but there's a time and place to talk shit. And somehow, even though you should have learned that lesson in season 4, you didn't learn that lesson. Sorry, I have, like, a splitter in my thumb, so I'm also trying to get it out. It's like, you still didn't learn that lesson. What the fuck? But her trying to use her sister as leverage is something that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm here to find my sister, and I know my sister is in Mistral. And when she finds out, like, when I don't make it to her, she's gonna come looking for me, and she's gonna fucking find you. So you should probably let me go and save us all some trouble. And they're like, oh, you don't know that she's not here. Idiot. And I'm like, I don't fault Weiss for that one, because I feel like that's actually the right play. She just kind of got screwed. But my favorite scene in the season from Weiss, as much as I laugh about the fact that you have all the people Cinder targeted, of course she got Weiss because Weiss was already jobbing and continues to do so, is when you got 3 members of RWBY together, you've got Team RWBY, because there's no Blake. And I guess I'll kind of talk about Yang here for a bit too. They're like, man, I really miss Blake. I wish Blake was here. And Yang's like, I don't. She made her choice. She chose to leave. She chose to not say anything. She chose to not keep in contact with us. Fuck her. If that's what she wants to do, let her do it. I don't care. And Yang goes off to her room. Someone knocks on the door. She's like, RWBY, I kind of want to be alone right now. I don't want to talk to you. Instead of RWBY coming in to check on her, it's Weiss. And Weiss comes in, sits on the other bed, and doesn't say anything. She just listens and lets Yang talk. Lets Yang say her piece, which is essentially, I've been abandoned so many times in my life. My biological mom abandoned me because I guess she didn't want me. My adopted mom went off on a mission and never came back, so I feel like I was abandoned by her too. My dad never abandoned me, but he was always so busy with his work as a teacher that I didn't get to see him as much as I wanted. I'm a lonely person because so many people have left me. And you would think that at this point, I'd be used to it. That Blake abandoning me wouldn't hurt. But it does. I'm not used to it. I don't think you know what it's like, Weiss. You live in a big house. You got servants everywhere. You have a big family. You don't know what it's like to be like this. And what I love from Weiss here is, while she disagrees, it is no, let me tell you my story. It's not, she doesn't get aggressive with it. Say what you will about Weiss being defiant or being obnoxious, because I think Weiss is very often just obnoxious. She shows a lot of emotional maturity and empathy here. She's like, okay, Yang, we all deal with loneliness and we all deal with grief in different ways. Here's my story. My dad, one day, not just one day, on my fucking birthday, told my mom the only reason he married her was for the family name and for the fortune. Which she knew. There's no way she didn't know, but it was still a shitty thing to say. Then, from that point, they started to drift apart. It's they would still go to the same events with me, but they would go separately. They would sit in separate boxes. My mom would have a glass of wine here, maybe a glass of wine there. Then my mom stopped showing up to things, and a glass turned into a bottle. And she doesn't really go further than that. And I'm like, yeah, I actually don't know anything about Weiss's mom. Is she still alive? Because I don't know if her mom is dead, if her mom is still in the house but is living somewhere else. If the parent, I don't remember if she said if her parents were full on divorced or not, or if it's so are they divorced but her dad has the company, not the mom? How actually does this work? This is so fucking interesting. It's why weren't we focusing on this shit in season 4? Instead of just being Weiss going, Dad, you're a piece of shit, I hate you. It's I would have loved a deeper, a fucking Sea Cats-esque dive into the Schnee family and all the different members of the family and oh gosh, because I love that kind of shit. I love intra-family politics. And Weiss's family seems ripe for that. I can only hope we do that in the Atlas arc, but from the little bit I know of the Atlas arc, it's there's so much other shit going on. there's kind of no time to focus on it. You're like, fuck, that sounds like it's gonna be great. But yeah, essentially what she says to Yang is, we all process loneliness and grief differently. I cannot, I can only assume that Blake is dealing with it in her own way. I don't think she meant to hurt us. I really don't. I think this is just, Blake has always been the most closed off of the four of us. So her having this kind of reaction makes sense. I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt. I'm not going to say that you shouldn't feel hurt. What I am going to say is that when she comes back, not if, when she comes back, I'm going to welcome her with open arms. I need to be there for her when she needs us. If you want to do the same, that's great. But if you also need to be, if you need to heal too, I want to be here for you while you heal. And I really like that. And I do like Yang also saying, she's like, I know you say I need to be there for her when she needs me, but when that happened, I needed her and she was nowhere to be found. I do like that. I'm essentially that conversation is, no one is wrong for how they feel. I still don't like the way they handled Blake. I think they could have handled her better. But I do really like that discussion. And then I already really said everything I wanted to say about Blake, which is she sees herself in Elia and is like, if I can, I want to save Elia because it's kind of also a way of saving myself. And it's almost like proving that me being a better person and going back on the right path is real and that it's not bullshit. With Juniper, there's really nothing to say for Nora or Ren. For John, it's just he activated his semblance, and I love him going full fucking aggro against Cinder. I talked about Cinder. She's a petty, sadistic bitch, and I think it's awesome. It also just makes me wonder, who hurt you? She's someone who is addicted to having power, who wants it and needs it, and loves just exuding it over others. What happened to you to make you like this? Because this clearly isn't just, I'm really pissed at RWBY for fucking my shit up, which understandable, but it's this is deeper. What happened to you? Because I have no idea what her backstory is. I don't even know if we find out in the first 9 seasons. That might be season 10. I don't even know if season 10 is going to be the final season. I don't know if that's season 10. I don't know if we're going to find out season 13 or some shit. But I'm really interested to know that shit. Leo, he's the cowardly lion. There's not really much to say there. Oscar is not an interesting character. I really like what they did with Crow in this season. His scenes of looking for the huntsman. Dr. Watts, he's just kind of an asshole, but I kind of like him. I like his teeth. There's a few scenes, especially in the opening, where he'll just smile and show his teeth, but his mustache is so bushy it covers his teeth. And so it looks like there's a gap there. And so anytime he smiled, I actually thought it was just kind of really funny. Emerald and Mercury don't really do anything. There's nothing to say. I like the idea of Hazel, this very, the big unga bunga man who's actually a pacifist. He's I don't want to see people get hurt. I don't want to see people die, but I got to do what I got to do. But Oz is on site. He's look, my sister went to Beacon to become a huntress. She was sent on a mission and she fucking died. And my hatred for Oz is, I feel like he could have done better. He should have done better to protect his fucking students. And look at what the fuck happened in Beacon. He's still not protecting his students. As he says to him, fighting all these kids and the shit with Oscar, it's, how many more kids have to die for you? You disgust me. And I actually like it. I think it's some interesting, some good shit. Adam, there were some scenes where I was like, I'm kind of getting into it. Like, he's almost threatening. I think the voice acting sounded a lot better for me in this season, but then by the end, he's just kind of a joke and an afterthought, so there's nothing really much to say there. That's everyone except Raven, and I feel like I have to do a content warning before I say anything about Raven, and this is coming from someone who talked about Class of '09. This is coming from someone who, I showed throughout this video, swears an absolute fuck ton. Here's my content warning. Be prepared for unbridled thirsting, because God, I don't know what it is. I think her color scheme is, like, I genuinely do really like her design. Like, I just think it's really cool. I love her, like, how coarse her hair is and how it dead ass to me, like, looks like raven feathers. I think that's a really nice touch. I'm like, I don't know, just like the red and black is just doing it for me. I think Raven is so hot. And I like the confidence, like I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I think social Darwinism is hot. I don't know, but there's just something about Raven where I'm like, she is checking a lot of boxes. I didn't even know I had these boxes, but she is just checking them. But to actually get into the character, though, I don't like her because I'm really attracted to her, because she activates my neurons. I actually like this character a lot. And I think it comes down to it, kind of like what Blake is saying earlier in the season, where she's like, you know, sometimes a person is just the epitome of a word. To me, RWBY is the epitome of purity. Weiss is defiance. Yang is strength. Adam is spite. You, Sun, I didn't really say anything about Sun. I don't really have much to say about Sun. You, Sun, I think you are just earnest. Like, never mind. To me, Raven is that epitome of survivor. She, as she says, like, I am going to do everything it takes to survive. My special ability is something that allows me to get out of a situation. My other ability, turning into a bird, I can also use to get out of a situation because I make myself a smaller target and I can fly. And as a bird, I'm able to get a lot of information I wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Because people won't say a lot to Raven, but they'll say a lot in the presence of a Raven because it doesn't matter to them. It's so innocuous. Like, if you ever read Inkheart, this was, I think it was specifically in Ink Death, which was the third book of the trilogy. There is a character who is a major antagonist that just turns into, I guess I am spoiling this book, so let me give a quick spoiler. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bam. Who can turn into a magpie. And she is just with the main characters in their camp, learning information. And there's even a point where, like, the narration's like, yeah, like, everyone was so used to this magpie being around, it was just as much a part of the team as, like, Dustfinger's Martin? Was that the name of the animal? I don't remember. It was like this little ferret thing, but I think they called it a martin. And there was the Black Prince, was that his name? Maybe I'm getting that confused with Watership Down. But, like, the prince had a bear. And essentially, it's like these two characters have an animal that is so heavily associated with them, it is, like, part of the party. And they're like, oh yeah, we're so used to this magpie. It kind of has the same thing. And it's a fucking problem. Raven's thing is kind of similar to that. She's like, yeah, like, I can... The amount of things that people will say when they're not alone, but they think they're alone, is astounding. And I can use that information. The fact that she's like, okay, my brother's now a problem. He's going to be working against me. He has information that I really wish he didn't have. And is going to use it against me. I'm going to use my brother as bait now because of that. And I feel like, to me, did Raven want to get Crow killed? No. But I feel like for her, she's like, this is an acceptable loss. He planned to act against me, and I don't want him dead, but I can live with myself afterward. There's the fact that she's completely willing to cut ties with Yang. She's like, look, kiddo, do you want to stay with me and be like part of my crew? No. Okay. See ya. Like, all right, then get the fuck out of my camp. I kind of appreciate that. Again, just the whole fact it's like, I have the Spring Maiden with me. And she was weak. She was someone who could not survive. She's someone who was going to get hunted and wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. So I killed her and took her power. I see that as an act of mercy. Also, it gave me something up my sleeve that now no one else knows that I fucking have. And like, okay, what else does she do with that? I'm gonna pretend that someone else has that power, so it takes the target off my back. And I love the idea of like using the mask to hide her magic. That's a really clever trick. Like, there's just, she really is that epitome of survivor. And also, she can kick ass. Look at the Cinder fight. It's awesome. I'm like, this is a really good character. Like, I remember saying in the last couple seasons, especially in season 4, like, Ironwood might end up being my favorite character. Raven's a contender for that, too. And again, damn. Neurons are just activated. Like, even her voice, too. I'm like, it's just doing things. Anyways, thirst warning done. Getting in some of the jank things of the season. Like I said, like, I still don't have a fucking RWBY Cinder fight. The fight between Raven and Crow is off screen. We have dust and semblances, but that's not magic. In like Blake's first scene, they talk about how it's like, yeah, we just talked to the 2 Fox priests about the White Fang and confronted them with shit. And it felt like a scene I would have liked to watch. Like, it seemed like it was pretty important. It was just off screen. It didn't like that. The kind of timeline with Blake's story being off, I don't super love. Adam just being able to escape bothers me. Sienna Khan getting off so easily, but it seemed like this could be a really interesting character. The whole talking about being a bird and how it's this horrible, fucked up thing, I think it's all kind of jank. Now here's just some of the other good fun shit to end the video on, because I really didn't have anything to say about that for season 4. When they first get to Mistral and they're showing all like the little, like the bazaars and shit, there's this nice art style. I liked it. Yang punching out a dude's tooth. I enjoy that. I talked about that scene with Crow and the Huntsman that I really liked. The reunions of the cast, and then them just like everybody hanging out in the next episode while eating hot pot, and then Nora's like, I want to fucking arm wrestle the metal arm. That was really fucking fun. The fact that RWBY sees that, and it reminded me of Spider-Man from Civil War. He's like, dude, you have a metal arm? That is so cool. Like, it's, again, you get to see RWBY having fun again, and I really enjoyed it. Again, I talked about that scene between Weiss and Yang, how much I really like it. Cinder being super petty and targeting Weiss, Watts' teeth. There is a scene where RWBY's talking to Oz, and she's like, okay, so we're trying to get the relic and shit, right? Yeah. And then all the relic, each school has a relic, right? Yeah. Does that mean they have the relic from Beacon? No. Okay. Why? How can you say that? She's like, trust me. That one's really fucking hard to come by. Like, I did some shit to make it hard to get. Okay. Any other questions? I have one more question. No, my cane isn't a relic. I have no more questions. I really enjoy that. I was like, okay, so the cane isn't a relic. They specifically got that. Got it. When talking about semblances, and they're like, oh yeah, sometimes you find your semblance in different ways. Sometimes it's from training, sometimes from like crazy emotional shit. Nora's like, I got struck by lightning on a Thursday, and that's how I know I'm immune to electricity, which A, I just think is fucking funny, and 2, on a Thursday. Thursday is named after Thor, the god of thunder, so it's like Thor's Day, and her name is Valkyrie. Like, that's fun. I like that a lot. That one's really cute. I talked about the hot pot. I talked about the arm wrestling. So the only other thing, and this is something that might end up being jank, depending on how it's handled later in the show, but for now I'm going to say it's something I really like. After the crew, besides Blake, like everyone else is together, and Oz is like, all right, full shit, blah, 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 blah. Yang's like, okay, we all trust each other, we're all good, but let's make a promise. No more lies and no more half-truth. And Oz is like, yeah, I can agree to that. By the end of the season, Yang learns that her mother is the Spring Maiden, and that her mom ends up leaving and shit. She doesn't tell anybody that. They're like, hey, what happened down there? Yeah, by the time I got there, Cinder was gone, Vernal was dead, Mom was gone, but I took the relic. Which, any of them should have been like, Cinder wasn't there, but you were able to take the relic. Something's not adding up. But I guess they were like, we got the thing, it doesn't fucking matter. And I'm like, okay, so the character who specifically said no lies and no half-truths tells a lie and a half-truth by the end of the season. And it's one of those where I'm like, that's hypocritical, and that's not good, but we'll see what they do with it. Like, is it something where Yang ends up feeling a lot of guilt about it later? Is it something where, like, depending on some of the other kind of gray areas, she's like, I've kind of done some gray shit myself so I can understand it? Or is it something that we're kind of supposed to forget and be like, no, she's completely justified, but when these people do it, it's a problem. So like I said, for now, I think it's kind of a fun thing. We'll see how it goes. So, that... An hour and 36. Cool. That was Volume 5. I loved it. I thought it was great. I think the change in, like, kind of the direction of fights is not necessarily better or worse, at least at this point. But I did like some of the fights that we got, especially the fight at the end. I feel like the character writing felt a lot stronger than it did in Season 4. I think the plot was better than it was in Season 4. I still don't love the new art direction, clearly with an exception of Raven. This was really good. Season 6 is uncharted territory. There's a part of me that's very excited for it. There's a part of me that is still kind of nervous for it. But I'll find out when I find out, which, if not today, will hopefully be sometime tomorrow.